What's happening, guys? It's your boy Cdwoods here, back today with some more Raptors talk. It's been actually a while since I've just got on in front of a mic and just talked about the Raptors. Maybe too long, I don't know. But today we're going to be talking about someone from the 2003 NBA draft. That's right, Chris Bosh. We're going to be talking about Chris Bosh. And so basically I watched a YouTube video from Isaiah8150, I believe. He was talking about how Chris Bosh is frustrated with the Heat because they're not confirming that he's going to play, because they don't want to be responsible if something bad happens to him, like he passes out on the court. And in that video, he actually says that if they don't play him till December 9th or something like that, then they can waive his contract without paying the money, I believe, which would, I think, make him a free agent, I believe. And he had a $100 million contract at the time of it is, so it's like $20 million a year. I mean, that's not a lot of money now for like a star player. Like freaking Ryan Anderson is getting that much money a year, I believe. But I mean, it's still a good amount of money, and I really don't get that. But we're gonna talk about the speculation as if this is true. Like, if this is true, is this what's happening? Now, if it does happen, I think it's the Heat confirming that they're ready to go into rebuild mode. Use the Sun as their front piece. They'll have Justin Winslow, Goran Dragic, Josh Richardson. I actually like his game a lot. And they'll just go on and try and get another player in the NBA draft next year and just leave Chris Bosh out of it because they don't feel like he's going to improve their chances of winning in the future, because I feel like they know they're not going to win in the East this year. So they're just like, you know what, screw it. We're just going to wait for a few years, and then we're going to, led by Hassan Whiteside, we're going to take the NBA. Which, I mean, it's a good plan. It's an alright plan. So let's say the speculation happens and they end up waiving Chris Bosh after December 9th. Once they do that, a lot of teams are going to go want him, especially like if nothing's happened yet and it's just a Heat wanting to be cheap. If that happens, a lot of teams are going to want him, and one of them is probably going to be the Toronto Raptors now. He was originally a Raptor. I mean, that's a good thing, so he already knows about us at least. And it doesn't hurt the fact that we're competitive right now. We went to the Eastern Conference Finals, won 2 games against LeBron. So whether he wants to team up with LeBron or try and beat him, which would be, I think, awesome if I was Chris Bosh and I teamed up with LeBron and won 3 NBA championships, I think it was something like that. And then he left, we didn't win any, and then you got waived by your team, and then you went to Toronto, who hasn't won an Eastern Conference Finals, and then in the Eastern Conference Finals you beat LeBron. I mean, that would just be, be like, hey, look at that. I mean, it'd be a good, thing on your NBA resume when you retire. We don't have a lot of money. I mean, Toronto does not have a lot of money in their pocket to be spending on marquee free agents like Chris Bosh. There was a rumor a while ago that says we were going to sign him for, a minimum deal by an unreliable source. I'm not going to say a source. And it's becoming a little more likely, but if what Isaiah is saying is true, then it becomes a lot less likely, because he's just going to want to go and get as much money as he wants. And unless we trade away players for picks, and like Terrence Ross and some other people, we're not going to have the money to waste on Chris Bosh. Because the rumor said it would be a minimum deal, and it'd be after. And with him saying it's going to have to be after December 9th. Now, depending on how good we're doing, we could easily be first place in the East by a few games, depending on, how good we're doing, depending on some games. We got some good games. I mean, let's say we win 2 against the Cavs by December 9th, depending on the schedule, and let's say we somehow win the Warriors. And, we have a good record. We could possibly be better than the Cavs, and at worst, we're probably going to be 4th. At that point, but competitive 4. We can make the argument, and knowing that we went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, we would have, be like, hey, we went to the Eastern Conference Finals. We won 2 games against LeBron. What would you say if you came here for a year on a minimum deal, and let's see if we can win. Let's win you an Eastern Conference title and maybe even an NBA ring, because let's be honest, a starting lineup of Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, DeMar Carroll, Chris Bosh, and JV would be pretty good. I mean, if Chris Bosh is healthy, that would be pretty good, because JV's a pretty good center, all right? He was the best center in terms of PER last year in the playoffs. And not only was he the best player, he was the 5th best player, 6th best if you include Chris Paul, who got injured in the playoffs. So I don't really like including him. But other than injuries, he was the 5th best player in the playoffs in terms of PER. That's pretty good now. I'm not expecting him to be that good again in the playoffs. But, I mean, let's say he plays, around that level. And then Kyle Lowry, DeRozan play their regular season level. And they bring in Chris Bosh and DeMar Carroll isn't injured. That would be a pretty good team, especially when you realize we got Norman Powell, Corey Joseph, Terrence Ross, Jared Sullinger. That'd be a pretty good lineup if we pay minimum. That would be a pretty great lineup. But more than likely, we're not going to be paying minimum. We're probably going to be paying him around $10 million a year if he's going to come to the Raptors. But as we all know, Joe Johnson went to the league last year, and he played pretty well. Now I think he signed with like Utah Jazz or somebody. But, he was a pretty good player in the playoffs. He was doing really well for the Heat as like one of their backup scorers. So I don't know how much people are going to think of Chris Bosh if this happens. I mean, maybe they'll think that, he's still injury prone. But at that point, I think you have to give him somewhat of a deal, depending if it actually is true and he doesn't play for the Heat. I think you have to give him that. You have to give him that deal. You have to try and get him on your team. I mean, you might have to let go of Terrence Ross. You might have to let go of Corey Joseph. I actually don't like Corey Joseph. No, don't give up Corey Joseph. You might have to give up Terrence Ross and maybe even Jared Sullinger. But at that point, I mean, Jakob Poeltl will be more acquainted with the NBA. And, I just think it would be great to add Chris Bosh to the team, even if it is for $10 million. Now that's cheap in the NBA now. So, yeah, that's what I think about Chris Bosh and him possibly coming to the Raptors. Now, the original video which inspired me to do this is in the description, so go check that out. And also subscribe to my channel if you are new. Thank you guys. I'll see you in the next video.